Hi, you're watching Martial Reader. In the previous chapter, he successfully became a human again, but to his surprise, Piggy was transformed with him too. Now that they are human, he bought some basic necessities first and rented a room. Now on to the next part. A drunk man is walking the streets at night, complaining how frustrating it is, because high-level braves are coming to the starter village. As he walks, he steps on a goo and thinks it is a feces, but unfortunately, it is much more terrifying than that. A snail covered in black goo is staring at him. Disgusted, he tries to kick it. Still, the snail envelopes his feet with black goo. Now he tries to pull it away, but it just bit his hand. Now he realizes his life is in jeopardy, so he shouts for help. But the black goo already covered half of his body, and with just a matter of seconds, he was devoured. In a change of scene, the snail is now inside a building. As it follows the power of the divine tree, it enters a room, and now the snail is in front of Wazzy, and it turns out the village head controls this snail, as it looks at him with raging glowing eyes. Since Wazzy is the one who completely wasted his many years of effort, he should have been the first to obtain Golem's powers, but he couldn't do anything to him now, since the sun has already risen and was burning the snail he controls. So he tells the sleeping Wazzy to consider himself lucky this time, but he will remember him. And in rage, the village head crushed the thing he is using to control it, so the snail disappeared, while Wazzy is dreaming about Piggy. Then Piggy stands up on her hind legs and reveals a zipper on her back. As she zips it open, a feet came out from her, as the village head emerged from the Piggy costume, telling Wazzy he found him, which made him wake up from his deep sleep. He sighs in relief as he realizes it was just all a dream. Now that he is finally awake, he stands up and decides to do some missions. A few moments passed by. They used a train and arrived at the Granite Mountains, as the system rewards them with experience points since using any type of transportation is one of their starter missions. Wazzy and Piggy are now walking, while Wazzy is loudly thinking that he was able to better understand human society here through these starter missions. First was the extermination of 10 level 20+ monsters, which allowed them to get used to their human bodies. Then it was accepting 3 bounty requests at the inn, which allowed him to understand the life of a brave, and he even got a new ability called Danger Sense. Lastly, it was to use any type of transportation, which leads them here to the Granite Mountains, and they are here since the first of the 3 bounties is to destroy the deadwood monsters that are flooding in the Granite Mountains. He has killed a bunch of them before he leveled up, so he believes this shouldn't be a problem. But the description says that they like to live in damp places, and if that's the case, the place that they are currently on doesn't look like a place they would live in, and they haven't encountered a single one after walking for so long. This leads him to believe the hard part of this mission is actually finding the possessed stumps, as he could only sigh since the bounties are a lot different from the system's missions, so he really is not sure how to go about this. But they need money right now, otherwise, he won't be able to buy food for Piggy. Suddenly the system informs him that it detects an enemy, so he turns around to see several tree stumps are now behind them, so they get ready for battle, as he uses appraise on them, showing him their level. Now he wonders why there is a much larger one than all the ones he has seen before, which the system reminds the player that this is a world with its own ecosystem. Naturally, monsters in different habitats will learn to adapt to them and evolve into various forms. Now he knows, but Piggy and him can deal with them just fine, so he tells Piggy that he will leave the ones at the back to her and he will take care of those 2 in front of him. But before Piggy starts, she carefully puts the apples down, as she tells the apple to wait for her to come back. After that, she grabs her weapon and strikes at the stumps, eliminating them instantly. With this, she was hungry again, while Wazzy was amazed by Piggy's incredible strength. Suddenly the tree stump attacks him, but the Sage mode was activated so he could dodge it easily, and using his human form, Mushroom Bash becomes a powerful burst of strength in his legs, and using these bursts of speed, he can now do Mushroom Sword Dance, killing the stumps in front of him. But there was a wave of stump coming towards him. While it is true that he will run out of stamina if they just keep on popping up, but unfortunately for them, they are made of wood, so he casts Spore Explosion onto them, making them grow mushrooms on their entire body, completely draining their health. And with that, Wazzy and Piggy completes their mission, and once they turn these in, Wazzy plans to go celebrate with some food, but the system suddenly detected danger, as the tree frantically wiggles around and started to form. This made Wazzy wonders if they can also revive like Mushroom, so he appraised the killed stump, but their HP is still empty, while the strange stump is still transforming. It even takes Piggy's apple, and now it transforms into a level 60 Elder Tree Spirit, which shouted at them after transforming. This surprised Wazzy, so he asks what is that? The system explained that it was an evolution. A giant possessed stump must have absorbed all of its companions and evolved, while Piggy didn't hesitate to attack it, because it took her fruits, which Wazzy warned her that is a level 60 monster. So as soon as her axe touches the Elder Tree Spirit, it shattered into pieces, and it seems the Tree Spirit is a man of culture, so without hesitations, it holds on to Piggy and lifts her upside down, which Wazzy didn't like, so he uses Mushroom Sword Dance to free Piggy from its dirty wooden vines. This made Piggy look at Wazzy with adoration, but Wazzy puts her down since he couldn't carry her for that long because she is too heavy for him. Still, she hugs him. Then the system warns them of the danger, so they turn to look at it. The Tree Spirit started using nutrient deprivation. Now the Tree Spirit switched to its Trent form, which Piggy didn't like to see her fruits drying up, so she charged to attack it head-on. But the Trent was too strong for her, so she was knocked to a tree. Now that Wazzy's weapon is broken, and even Piggy, with her insane attack power, can't close the level gap, he realizes he needs to run, but wonders if he can escape while carrying Piggy. But before that, he still has his type suppression, so he casts Spore Explosion and successfully hit the Trent. Now it grows mushroom on its body, but it used Bark Shield and peels off its infested layer, and went straight to Wazzy, with no choice but to fight. The only weapon he has left is a Divine Tree Branch, so he attacked the Trent with it, but the Trent was unfazed, and was about to launch an attack again. So Wazzy tries to dodge, but he soon realized he was too late, as the attack of the Trent crushed him to the ground, while Piggy saw that Wazzy was hurt, so enraged she leaps towards it, while she shouts that it was not allowed to hurt her mushroom and use Piggy Punch. But the Trent was confident in his strength, so he retaliates with his own attack, but he soon realized that was a mistake, as his body reveals a crack, and was blown into bits. This shocked Wazzy. Now he knows that Piggy is too OP, but then she lost her consciousness and was about to fall down, but Wazzy catched her, and lies her down gently, and he asks if she was okay and tells her to not scare him like that, but Piggy suddenly turned back to her monster form, surprising him again. Meanwhile, somewhere in the Tempest Grasslands, the people in there are talking about how the Eye of the Firebane Guild has been expanding non-stop, and the Sword Saint Guild is starting to move again. With all the weird things happening lately, as the #1 guild, they couldn't just stand there and watch. Then Wazzy appeared on the scene, and made it back safely. They went straight over to the owner of the inn to complete a bounty request. As he put down the bag, he opened it, revealing to the owner that he killed the Elder Tree Spirit, so he rewards them. Wazzy was surprised to receive a lot of money, so he questioned if the bounty was that high for the Elder Tree, which he answered that the Elder Tree Spirit had been on the bounty list for some time, so his reward was tripled, while the people who saw him turn in the corpse of the Elder Tree belittled him and thought he hired high-level guards to beat it for him, while the others wondered how much money he got. Then he asked if there were any other bounties he could accept, which the owner gladly showed to him. This made Wazzy shocked to see only 2 rank A missions left. The owner explained that lower-level bounties are usually completed not long after they are posted. He suggests Wazzy take the mission to catch the criminal duo, since many guilds and bounty hunters have been trying this mission lately, so it will be easier for them to find a team. Although the rewards will be less, it'll be safer too, and since they can defeat the Elder Tree Spirit, they should have more than enough strength to do a rank A mission. This made Wazzy think that if either he or Piggy ran out of mana and exposed their monster forms, they might be the one who gets turned in as bounties instead. But then if he is able to get closer with some high-level people, he might be able to find clues on Golem's whereabouts. So he decides to take a look first and adapt to the situation later, and so he accepts the bounty. The owner tells him that a couple other braves like them have accepted this mission, so he asks Wazzy if he wants help from him to team up with them, which he was thankful, but he declined the offer, and explained that he is used to working alone. This made the owner worried, so he asked if he was sure. Although the mission is rank A right now, the difficulty could increase anytime, which Wazzy says that it's fine, and thanks the owner before he leaves. His statement made people inside the inn think that he's over his head, since there were already over 30 victims who died trying to complete that bounty, while a man in the corner wearing a cowboy hat might have taken an interest in him. Wazzy gives Piggy some apples before they go on their way, and he says he will get her something different to eat when they reach the train station. A few moments pass by. They are walking in the middle of nowhere. Wazzy feels they are being followed, but he assumes that he must be overthinking things. After all, this is the way to the train station. Then Wazzy talks to his useless system, since it even dares to say it has been upgraded, but it still can't provide him with clues on Gollum's whereabouts. The system replies to him to just do the missions. Destiny will naturally guide him towards the clues, like he met one of Gollum's followers in the Mushroom Kingdom. Speaking of the followers of Gollum, he asks if they are monsters or humans, and what their levels are like. The system answers that there are both humans and monsters among Gollum's followers. The system adds that it is not omniscient, so it doesn't know who they are, but it can guarantee even the weakest should not be under level 100. This surprised Wazzy, making him squeeze Piggy, so she accidentally let go of her apples. While Wazzy is still thinking loudly, he thought that once he hit level 60, he would be able to fight them together with Piggy. But if even the weakest is level 100, he could only sigh, as he wonders when will he ever be able to finish these missions. The system informs him that there is another way. The demon god Gollum's resurrection requires all 6 of his sealed pieces to be unsealed. He can stop the resurrection if he can find one and manage to destroy it without unsealing Gollum. This made him change his plans, so he asks where the seals are located, which the system responds that it doesn't know. So he takes out money from the inventory and asks the system how much money does it want. The system clarifies to him that it has already been upgraded, so it is not interested in some stupid gold coins anymore. Besides, it really doesn't know where they are, but it can tell him that when the 6 Braves originally sealed Gollum, they sealed him in the areas with the highest amount of energy. Wazzy didn't appreciate the vague information and thought the system was being useless again, but suddenly it sensed danger, so they were alerted and saw 3 figures blocking their path. The leader of this trio asks Wazzy to hold on for a moment, because they just want to speak with him, and he introduces himself as the Vice Guild leader of the Serpent's Death Kiss Guild, and they wish to invite him to join their guild, and he hopes Wazzy will not reject their invitation. While they are talking, Wazzy used appraise on them to see their levels, and he thinks that compared to monsters, the most dangerous beings are still people with 0 morals. He can take the other 2, but the leader's level is too high for him. So Wazzy says to them that he politely rejects their invitation, and throws the gold to the ground to give it to them since he doesn't want any trouble. The man accepts it, but he also asks to leave the ribbon pig behind, so they can pretend this never happened, which Wazzy didn't want to, so the woman immediately attacks him with a poisonous circle blade, but he blocks all her attacks, and he counters it using his feet with Mushroom Bash, sending her to a tree. The archer then launches serpent-like arrows towards him, but his mind is clear since he has Sage Mode activated, so he used Spore Explosion to not only to dodge the attack but also to close the gap with the archer, and counters him with Mushroom Bash. The 2 were knocked out quickly, so the leader was trying to compliment him, but Wazzy didn't hesitate to use Spore Explosion and attack him mid-sentence for them to run away, but unexpectedly his feet was caught by a tentacle, and throws him to a tree. Now the leader asks Wazzy if his parents never taught him not to interrupt others while talking, and to think he can shoot spores. It's quite an interesting little trick, but unfortunately, it's utterly useless in front of him. Then the woman recovered and went to attack Wazzy again. He dodges it, but another serpent arrow was launched towards him, which he blocked with his branch. As he was distracted, Piggy was caught by the enemy, and they noticed that he was quite fond of this ribbon pig. Still, Wazzy was enraged, as he warned him to unhand her now. The leader laughed and asked if he doesn't, what is he going to do about it? But suddenly the toad was shot, freeing Piggy from its grasp. The man with a cowboy hat returns Piggy to Wazzy and tells him to leave this place to him, which made Wazzy delighted, and he asks Piggy if she was hurt, which she shows that she is fine. Then Wazzy wonders what is the identity of the cowboy uncle. As he says his thanks to him, the trio was now alerted by the presence of an expert, so they asked of his name, to which he replied that he was just a cowboy who happened to be passing by. At the same time, Wazzy picks up his gold coins and runs from the scene since the cowboy uncle asks him to leave it up to him. Meanwhile, the vice leader uses their guild's name, the Serpent's Death Kiss Guild, a subsidiary of the Eye of the Firebane Guild, to get out of the situation. Still, the cowboy says he knows who they are, and he also knows all the braves they have robbed and killed. So, as an ally of justice, he will now sentence them with a death sentence. At a later time, Wazzy is on his bed and is thinking that the waters of the brave mainland are even more deeper than they seem. If he hadn't met that cowboy uncle from back then, he might not have been able to leave in one piece. Wazzy initially thought he had already become strong after reaching level 57. However, he realizes he is still far from being comparable to real experts. Initially, he wanted to swiftly level up and stop Gollum from reviving, so he could go back to Earth. But now, he asks himself if he really wants to do that. As he looks at Piggy, in order to protect him, Piggy used up all her mana. Yet today, he almost lost her again. He now realizes he needs to get stronger so he can protect her, while Piggy is sleeping comfortably as she rolls around the bed. Then he calls for his system, so he could take out the branch from his inventory. He completely forgot about this thing until earlier, and he felt it changed a bit after he placed his mana into it, so he tries to charge it with magic powers. Now it is glowing, and his mana is dropping like crazy, so he called for his system to help him get all the mana potions from his inventory, which it supports him, and as his mana potions were used, the branch started to shine brighter. Still, his mana also started to drain faster, and as he struggled, he soon saw a result. The branch suddenly started sprouting mushrooms, and the place was soon filled with a bright light. After that, the system congratulates Wazzy on successfully binding with the divine tree branch, and it has now transformed into a mushroom rapier. He was happy that it worked, but he was completely drained because of this, so he collapsed on his bed. The next day, Piggy was licking his face. Still half asleep, Wazzy pushed her away, and as soon he realized it was morning already, he woke up, but he was surprised to see Piggy turned back into a human, as he realized his hands were not touching Piggy's face but her other part, which made him nosebleed, while also leveling up his sage mode. Then they decided to go down, while Piggy hops onto his back. He tells her not to mess around on the stairs because it is dangerous, and as they walked towards the door, Wazzy was in deep thought, since he couldn't find anything out about his newly acquired weapon with appraisal, and all it says is that it is a unique weapon. As for how strong it is, he will need to test it out. After they were outside, they were greeted by the cowboy uncle, as he states that he didn't expect Wazzy to have a teammate already. Then he suggests for them to find a quiet place to talk. Now they are in the middle of nowhere, and before the cowboy uncle introduces himself to show sincerity, Wazzy already used appraise on him. Now he knows that he is a level 73 master gunslinger named Dick Farrell. At the same time, Farrell shows his badge, which Wazzy pretends to be surprised, but in reality, he doesn't recognize it at all. Still, Farrell buys his act and says that what Wazzy assumes is correct, and that he is a member of the Sacred Sanctum Guild, one of the top 6 guilds in the whole Brave Mainlands, and he is under orders from the Saintess to patrol this area and keep the peace. Wazzy then thanked him for saving him yesterday, but he doesn't understand why Farrell went out of his way to look for him, while he is wondering what's he after, because not only did Farrell help him out yesterday, he even came knocking on his door first thing in the morning. Farrell responds that protecting the peace of the Brave Mainland is their mission, so there's no need for thanks, and he states that he will be blunt with them, so he expresses that he wants to team up with them to hunt down the criminal duo, which Wazzy wasn't convinced. As he stated with how strong Farrell is, he doesn't think Farrell will need their help, so he asks why him. Farrell replies that it's simple. He wants to protect him because Wazzy's purity of heart is high. This made Wazzy even more confused, so Farrell used purity judgment on him, which Wazzy think it was appraisal, so he was worried that his identity as a monster was revealed. But before he could say anything, Farrell tells him that there was no need to be startled. Although his purity judgment is not as good as the Saintess Sophia's gaze, it can still determine the purity of a person's inner heart, and in order to recruit people to stop an impending calamity, the Saintess tasked him with finding people who are pure of heart. After traveling for 2 months, he is the first person whose purity reached the requirement, but before he could finish his statements he was so surprised to see a 100 points purity. He cursed out loudly. This made the atmosphere awkward, so he regained his composure and explained that this was the first time he had seen someone other than the Saintess whose purity level is maxed out, so he lost his cool there for a bit. Wazzy then says he doesn't fully understand what Farrell meant, but it was his choice to protect them because of their purity level, so they don't have to accept his proposal. Which Farrell states that he knows they are still suspicious of him, but if they want to catch the criminal duo, working with him will also significantly increase their chances and safety. So he tries to explain Although he has more than enough confidence in facing both of them head-on, he will need reliable teammates to watch his back since they are going to venture into their turf. The Sacred Sanctum are justice advocates, and they only work with people with a high level of purity. That's why he has chosen to work with the two of them. This made Wazzy rethink his choice, as he asks why the criminal duo who's been traveling around would suddenly hole themselves up in the ancestral ruins of the mushrooms and allow themselves to be surrounded. Which Farrell says that it's exactly because they are at their strongest there. After the Mushroom Kingdom was destroyed, people found the mushrooms' ancestral ruins. However, because there was no longer a king, none of the real experts paid the place any attention. The criminal duo took it over and made it into their base. They aren't letting themselves get surrounded and waiting for people to enter their trap. Regardless of who enters, they would be inexplicably besieged out of nowhere by those two. It's said that one of them uses a gun, while the other uses a blade, hence their title, Criminal Duo. Based on this, it's highly probable that they didn't just set traps but also plan escape routes for themselves. That's why this isn't something anyone can do alone. For the sake of justice, he asks to take them down together, and the reason he is teaming up with him is not because of how strong he is, but because his purity level is high. This way, he can leave his back to him without worrying, which Wazzy was about to refuse again, but he used righteous persuasion and asks Wazzy to trust him. The Sacred Sanctum is an ally of justice, and they only fight for justice, so he can have all the treasures they find in the ruins, since he only wishes to stop the duo from causing any more harm, so he begs Wazzy to lend his power to him. Righteous persuasion greatly increases the target's trust in the user, so Wazzy believes that Farrell shouldn't be a bad guy since he helped them out earlier. Moreover, it'll be safer to travel with a strong companion. Although his identity is a bit sensitive, it should be fine if he hides it properly. Therefore, he accepts his proposal and teams up with him. Farrell gives his party stone to them, and he says that once they defeat the criminal duo, he will surely report his achievements to the Saintus. Now that they are a team, Wazzy introduced himself as Duo Mo. He adds that they should focus on completing the mission first and talk about what happens with the bounty afterward. They shouldn't waste any more time, so he asks them to board the train right now, which Farrell says that there's no need for that, while he takes out a scroll and toss it in the air to shoot it with his gun, therefore activating it, which Wazzy was amazed. Farrell explained that it can instantly take them to any location he has placed a mark on. Now they are teleported to the Mushroom Kingdom, which Wazzy was amazed at how there is actually such a convenient item. Farrell explained that the teleportation scroll he used was a tier higher than the recall scroll. Still, there should be items that are even stronger than this inside the ancestral ruin. This made Wazzy think about the opportunity to make it big. While they were talking, several Braves have gathered in one spot. Then Farrell points to them where the ancestral ruins is located. It seems that there are Braves who got to the place first, so they head to the front of the entrance, and just with Farrell's badge it made a commotion among the people who see it. Now Wazzy realized from everyone's reaction, the Sacred Sanctum is really incredible. Now he is starting to feel more and more confident in completing the bounty. After standing in the front, Farrell asks why everyone is just standing out here, and are they not planning to go in? One of the Braves answers him that it is not that they don't want to, it is just that they can't. This made Farrell surprised, because it wasn't like this the last time he came here to scout the place. Now everyone is thinking of a way to go inside, while Piggy is eating her fruits furiously. But suddenly a man shouted for them to get out of the way, and that they are a bunch of useless weaklings. So he asks them to watch him smash the barrier to pieces with his hammer, while Wazzy whispers to Piggy that they should ignore that kind of person in the future. And at the same time, the big guy uses body strengthening and with a full swing, he strikes the barrier making a shockwave, and even the stone crumbles near the barrier. So the people were amazed by his strength, but the barrier still holds. Therefore they retract their astonishment to his strength, making him angry. So he challenges them to come and try breaking the barrier, which the other people try to ignore his taunt. But Farrell accepted the challenge, which the big guy tries to discourage Farrell, since he was confident in his strength. So he doubts Farrell could even break it, but Farrell just passed by him. Then the big guy saw he is from a big guild. He mocks him for thinking that he is a hot shit because of that, but he was ignored. So this made him even more furious, while thinking that he has seen countless weaklings like Farrell who only knows how to flaunt the name of a big guild, and this bastard doesn't put anyone in his eyes. So he launched himself to Farrell like a raging bull. to see if the big guilds actually live up to their reputations, and attacks him with all his might. But Farrell was composed as ever, as he quick draws and used drill shot to obliterate the big guy's hammer while also hitting the barrier. This shocked almost everyone at the scene, while Piggy is still happy in her own world with Wazzy. Now the big guy knows he is fucked up, and with just a slight nudge from Farrell, he lost his balance and collapsed on the water. Then they went closer to the barrier to see if they had broken it, but to their surprise, the bullet was still spinning on it, but it wasn't able to break it until its rotation diminishes. Wazzy couldn't believe his attack could not break the barrier, which Farrell explained that his drill shot can pierce an entire mountain, yet it can't break this barrier. Perhaps they can't use brute force to solve this problem. Wazzy was frustrated since they came all this way for nothing, and his treasures were gone just like that. Farrell responds that this entrance is actually a transportation gate, so the space inside should be isolated from the outside world. This should be the only entrance. If they want to go in, their only hope is to hire a high-level mage proficient in breaking barriers to come here. Wazzy approached the barrier and could only sigh since he thought they would be able to earn a bunch of treasures today. Farrell tells him not to fret it. There are plenty of high-level mages in the sacred sanctum, so he asked them to come with him, and he will take them back to the guild headquarters in the Pentachrome Desert to find someone to break this barrier. While Farrell is thinking, although the plan has yet to be completed and he needs to collect more, the Saintess should be satisfied as long as he can bring these two who are pure of heart back. Then he states that the Pentachrome Desert is too far for the teleportation scroll, so first, they will go to the Castle of Time, then board the flying ship there. But Wazzy couldn't hear him, since he was wondering why the barrier felt a little shaky, and when he touched it, the barrier cracked and breaks into a million pieces, shocking everyone that have witnessed it, which made Piggy happy while Farrell asked him how did he do it. Wazzy couldn't answer his question because he doesn't know either, but he suddenly thought of an excuse, so he tells them that, before they came here, there must have been many people who had attacked the barrier, and besides the muscle uncle and his attacks just now, the damage must have pushed the barrier to its limits. Him pushing it was merely the straw that broke the camel's back. This statement made the muscle man regain his confidence and accepted all the credits, and Farrell accepted the excuse, and the entrance was now open, so they all decided to go in. Hit that like button and thanks for watching.